been a while, hasn't it, Duke? Has to be
It
said.
feels like forever. I'm not going to lie. To
With
the
the other
point
side
that
of
I have to find everything again because it was one of them. But I was sat in the wrong studio, Rob, wasn't I? Which is
Hence why we were a bit late. We had Neil from Down Under that was in the studio. He commented bang on 10 o'clock. He was sitting there waiting for you to turn up, waiting for me to hit the start button. And he was like, "What's going on here?" And so I had to put the broadcast back. And as you can see, he thought it was a strike or something. So but so we got Neil that's sitting there watching us, and we've also got Doug there. How you doing, Doug? Hope you had a pleasant Christmas and lots of presents under the Christmas tree, and maybe a few little pecks under the mistletoe. Who knows? But and yes, the Premier League is back. Yeah, I'm not too sure whether I'm that sort of enthusiastic about it, to be honest with you, given our current predicament. But there you go. We'll get into that. And Rebecca's there as well. She's saying hello. And Rob Singleton, how you doing, mate? Hope you are all well. We want you guys to get involved in this. We want a little bit of audience participation, a little bit of back and forth. So please get your comments in the live chat. Now, let's, as we always do, we're here obviously to talk about the match, but long-standing viewers will know that there is a particular cause that we like to try and champion and turn your attention towards. So I'm going to play this trailer, and remember that it's the season of goodwill, ladies and gentlemen, that there are some people that are not maybe in as good a position as the rest of us. Forged from Iron is proud to support Iron Supporting Food Banks. They are a group of West Ham United fans and friends inspired by the work of other football fan food banks around the country. They collect food and cash donations from Newham Food Bank in Beckton, who supply 7 distribution centres in the borough, 7 days a week, and hand out several hundred 3-day emergency food packs every month to families in need. They are also working with other groups to improve conditions for vulnerable adults and children in the Newham community. They are supported in their efforts by West Ham United Football Club, the WHU Foundation, LS185, London Legacy Development Corporation, Newham Council, the Met Police, Spire London East Hospital, Expedient Security, and a large number of West Ham and football fans. You can help by making a donation to their Just Giving page. You will find the link to this in the description section of the video details in this stream. Thank you for your support. Come on, you Irons. Right, let's get down to it. We're here to discuss match day 16 of the Premier League. Arsenal is our destination at the Emirates Stadium. Duke, yeah, you're probably thinking the same as me. I mean, this is a really difficult one to gauge because both teams have had 6 weeks off. Obviously, some players have been at the World Cup. Some have come back in various states of, disrepair or whatever. And it's kind of difficult. I mean, I've tried as best as I could to put together what I usually do, the starting 11s and all the rest of it. And you look at form, but to be honest, it's really difficult to gauge how this one's going to go.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I've got to say, a couple of weeks ago when they announced that Jesus was going to be, out for the game and everything else, I'm like, oh. And then we have our own absolute tosh to deal with regards to the back line. And I'm just like, oh, come on now. What? Why? Grateful that the deck came through unscathed and we're not facing a crap moment, without him. Whether or not he makes himself available for the 90 or not today, I don't know. You see that some of them have been rested, so it just depends. Now, that being said, I kind of see where Kent's coming from with Kent's comment about there being a few shocks. I'm not uninspired by today. Kind of, you know what I mean? Listen, Premier League football's back. I'm excited by the fact that Premier League football is back. Don't get me wrong, I really enjoyed the World Cup. Fortunately, doing what I do for a living, I got to watch 95% of the games. You know, I got to see a lot of the games of football that were played over the World Cup. And it was really, really good. Really, really good. It was enjoyable. You know, again, like Ken says, there were a few shocks in the World Cup. We saw Argentina get beat by Saudi Arabia. You know, we see Australia stun France with the early goal. You know, so I see where Ken's coming from today. I think there's going to be a few teams that are going to be a little bit rusty. I watched the Carabao Cup performance on Thursday, Liverpool, Man City. By golly, did they go at it, hammer and tong? Did they? You know what I mean? You saw the players literally on their arse at the end of the game because they'd given it all. So, you know, I hope our boys see that and decide that's how we want to play. Now, you and I were going to do something midweek, Rob, weren't we? Where I sent you a couple of bits backwards and forwards. Do you remember? And obviously things happened. Not my place, but
yep.
Much love to you.
Appreciated.
And you know, we see where we've gone wrong this season compared to last. You know what I mean? With what I sent you, and we can still do something with that. You know, some point in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah,
I don't think anything's going to change, Rob. To be honest with you, with what we're looking at and listening to the absolute batshit comments coming from the Scotsman's mouth, you know, over the last few days, where he's saying that no, we're not in a relegation battle. We're in a battle for Europe. I think the guy's lost it.
I think he's being very, very optimistic there.
I think he's being a dick. But I'm also at a point where I'd like to think that the boys will come out today with a point to prove.
Yep.
You see what I mean? I'm kind of, but it really does depend on the 11 that he picks, because you know there's no Skamaka, there's no Antonio. I think Zuma's had the op, hasn't he? I don't know about your lips at me.
Well, Antonio trained on Christmas Eve. Antonio trained with the first team on Christmas Eve.
Did he now?
Yep.
Okay. Well, it was
so did a Gerd.
It was reported that Bowen was going to lead the line. That's what I'm
saying. Yeah, I mean, you know, Moyes said in his post pre-match presser that he thought that Mickey and Gianluca were going to be struggling. I mean, Gianluca's not even had a scan, the last I heard, because the swelling still hasn't gone down. So they can't do the scan to assess the damage until the swelling's gone down. But as far as Mickey's concerned, Mickey trained with the first team squad on Christmas Eve. I've seen the photographs. He was getting involved. So
was he in a snowman costume?
No. And his Lamborghini was parked sort of like in the car park, so everything was fine there. Not in someone's
front garden.
But well, let's put it this way. I wouldn't be shocked to see Mickey leading the line. I really wouldn't. Well, I personally, because I mean, I'm basing that on a couple of things, really. Right, yeah. I'll get this out there. Number one, like I say, he was training with the first team squad on Christmas Eve, no problem at all. I've seen the photographs. He was, you know, doing what he needed to do. So from that point of view, I think, well, there's no reason why he can't. The other thing is also these comments that he came out with the other day, where he was saying that he's not very happy with this role that he's played, where he's basically been used as an impact sub in the main, certainly as far as the Premier League matches are concerned. Yeah. I get that. But I mean, obviously, you know, so David Moyes will probably know that those comments have been come out, and Mickey's sort of like been saying what he's saying. So I think that possibly it will be that Mickey will lead the line, but we'll get into that in due course. Before we sort of go too much further, I want you guys that are watching this, 16 if you're watching, it's Christmas time. We're going to have a little bit of fun. And I'm gonna blame Gio and Gonzo for this next bit. I'm going to blame them because yesterday they did a broadcast. I got a funny thing, it was on the Patreon channel. So it might not be that a lot of you caught it. If it was, I can't remember if it was on the Patreon channel or on the main channel. yesterday was sort of like, it's like Christmas morning. It's all a little bit of a blur. But basically, Gonzo did like a football team that was a Christmas 11. And I thought it was quite amusing. I quite liked it. But I come away from there because basically what it wasn't actually a West Ham 11. It was I'm trying to remember. He had in goal, he had Edwin van der Sar. Rudolf Hullet, I think, was playing at right back. So it wasn't necessarily that the players were in their correct positions. And I come away from there, and you know what I did with my spare time on Christmas bloody morning is I sat down and I actually managed to get a Christmas 11 West Ham players in their correct positions with Christmassy sort of themes in there. So I'm going to get you guys that are watching to get involved. We're going to have a little bit of fun with this. See if you can come up with a few different players that are sort of like a little bit Christmassy. But here, ladies and gentlemen, is my very own West Ham Christmas 11 and the manager as well. Enjoy. Just because I could. You were impressed, weren't you? Some of them were very tenuous. I mean, Deck the Halls, Lun Rice.
I mean, you could have left the Lun off. You didn't have to put the LA in. I think we would have known. But, yeah, Rob. Listen, at 9 o'clock on Christmas Day morning, you should be drinking. Well, the concern is you started earlier with that lot, to be honest with you.
Well, like I say, you can blame Gio and Gonzo at Hammers Chat for this. This is all their fault. If they hadn't have done it, or it was Gonzo specifically. It was Gonzo that did it.
Why am I not surprised? Why am I not surprised?
Yeah. You know what he's like. But I just come away from there thinking, I reckon if I really think hard about this, I reckon I could get a proper West Ham 11 in their proper positions. And I managed it. And the manager as well, Sid Three Kings.
Well, listen, I'm not the only one, right? I did like that one. I'll give you that one, right? But then Ken is wholeheartedly agreeing with me. You have far too much time on your hands, mate.
Do you know what? It took me about 10 minutes.
That's still 10 minutes too long, Roberts.
Possibly.
I was working for 3.5 hours yesterday morning.
Can you hear that?
What, the violin?
Yeah. Listen, you knew what you were getting into when you became a pub landlord.
Do you want to know something? Honestly want to know something?
Fire away.
Right. I loved every second of it.
What, working or my little skit?
No, both. No, it was really good yesterday. Really enjoyed. In fact, the last few days of the build up to Christmas in the pub, it's always fun. I want to give a shout out to my regulars. I've got to say, a little collection was organised in the build up to Christmas as a thank you to me and Joe for the last year. And they gave us 120 quid in the in a Christmas card that they gave to us for us to go and have a night out on the regulars, which I thought was absolutely amazing. 7 years, Rob. 7 years I was at the other gaff. Nothing.
I was there yesterday.
And it's amazing. It's honestly, was talking to Joe the other day, and we turned around and said, don't believe in things like fate or karma or things like that. But she does believe that things happen for a reason. And
that's the same thing then, isn't it?
No, she doesn't. No, that's what I said to her. But she weren't having none of it. But obviously everything that happened just over a year ago, obviously to myself with what happened at the ball, probably the best thing that ever happened to me. Probably didn't think it at the time,
No.
but best thing that ever happened to me coming to this place. Although I am in bandit country and did get a bit of grief yesterday because I had all the Millwall lot asking me if we were going to be showing it on the telly today, and I kept telling
Millwall.
Them, yeah, it's not on telly. It's actually on Sky Red Button, and pubs don't get Sky Red Button. They took that. They took that. They took that little bit off of the pub setups. So we just I
agree, Ken.
So we can't show the Millwall game. So I was getting a load of.
That's a shame.
Well, it's not. No.
A shit you did not give.
No, exactly. It was.
There you go.
I'm trying to do my good thing.
Right. Well, they're the officials, ladies and gentlemen. Michael Oliver back from World Cup duty, and he's straight in with his whistle. His assistants will be Stuart Burt and Simon Bennett. The fourth official will be Graham Scott. In the van with a lot of monitors in front of them will be Darren England and Darren Can, the two Darrens. There you go. There you go.
Darren van.
Say again?
It's the Darren van.
The Darren van. Darren and Darren. What could possibly go wrong? Well, no, we could turn around and say, well, plenty can go wrong because they've actually come out, haven't they, and said that there's 6 decisions that so far in the Premier League season up to the break that were like real clangers that VAR made. I mean, you can understand it if it's an on-field official, you know, it happens real time. They've got one view of it. You know, their angle might be obscured. I can forgive an on-field referee for making a blunder. I really can. I've refereed, so I know that you can make
that's just
absolutely but VAR is meant to be there to stop those howlers. That's the whole point. So there's no excuse for, in my view, for VAR to make those blunders, and yet there's 6 that they've turned around and said that happened in the first part of the Premier League season. And guess what? One of them was. Away at Chelsea, Maxwell Cornet. Whatever happened to him?
I actually don't know. I saw your video during the break.
It's embarrassing, mate. Absolutely embarrassing.
There's obviously, listen, unless, and I did think this, unless there is something seriously wrong, health-wise, medical-wise, something that obviously we're completely unaware of. Yeah, that's what I mean. But then there might be some, like, listen, there could be an underlying health issue here with one of the bigger, shall we say, diseases in a way.
I was thinking possibly a mental health issue, to be honest with you. But even that, I would be like, well, give us a hint, give us a clue. You know, even if you turned around and said, you know, Maxwell's got certain things that he needs to deal with in his personal life, and we as a club have given him as much time off as he needs to deal with these. Mate, absolutely fine, no problem. Do what you've got to do. We're human beings, all the rest of it. All we keep hearing is it's his calf still. Well, when he first did that calf, it was like, well, it's about a 3-week. He's going to be out. Well, that was the 1st of October. It's the 26th of December now, and they turned around and said he's going to be out for a couple more matches. And I'm like, wait a minute. Throw us a bone here, for fuck's sake.
There's obviously something going on behind the scenes, mate.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So, do you want? This is my prediction of what David Moyes will choose. It's not my prediction, not what I would choose, anything like that. This is what I think David Moyes will go with, Duke. So here we go. Roll VT. Now, I saw your face when Thomas Souček popped up.
No, it had nothing to do with Thomas Souček, mate. It was you and your bloody number order rather than your positional order. I was about to throw something.
But that's how they do it in the stadium. The only one that escapes that is the goalkeeper.
I don't care. I don't care how they do it at the stadium. You can have a word with DJ when you see him next, right? But my God, did you throw me out? I'm going, yeah, I agree with that. You prick. Does then Antonio comes up?
I'll explain my reasoning. Okay, Fabianski in goal, I think, takes care of itself. I think that Cresswell coming off injured in the Cambridge fixture, and he hasn't been seen since. I don't think we're going to see him today. So I think it will be Ben Johnson. You could make the case for Emerson Palmieri, but to be honest with you, I don't think he's really impressed. And I know some people would say the same about Ben Johnson, but I think we need to tread a little bit carefully with Ben Johnson. I mean, some people will say, look, he's a championship player or he's a youth player. He hasn't proved himself, blah, blah, blah. I think that he's a victim of his own versatility because I don't think he's nailed down a position. Now, I know people say that right back is his favoured position, but do you know what? When I see him play at left back, I think he's looked excellent. And I'll use the Lyon away fixture as a case in point. Anyway, I'm going to suggest that Ben Johnson will get the nod at left back. I think that Vladimir Kufel will play therefore at right back. And I actually think he's looked good in those couple of preseason games from what I've seen. Now, does Nayef Agurd play? Well, there's a possibility he could, but I just got a funny feeling that if he's going to play Antonio, and there's a bit of a question mark over Antonio's fitness, is he going to then play a second player that has a potential question mark over their fitness? I'm not so sure that David Moyes, being the conservative, cautious, safety-first type manager, I don't think he's going to take a chance with two players. He took a chance with one in the Leicester game with Kurt Zuma. I don't think he's going to do two. So I think he will play, rightly or wrongly, Craig Dawson alongside Thilo Kehrer at centre-back. So then we move forward and we've got Declan Rice. That's an obvious one. No problem at all. But I do think that Thomas Souček will get the nod. Now, I don't agree with that. I actually don't even agree with this formation personally, and I will get into that later down the track. But I think he will go Thomas Souček as Declan Rice's partner. And then we move into attacking midfield. Lucas Paquetá, I believe, will be the playmaker. Ben Rama, I think if he doesn't play on tonight, something's desperately wrong in my opinion. But I think he will play on the left. Jared Bowen will play on the right. And as I say, I do think that Mikel Antonio will start. Like I say, I just think that I don't think the injury was that bad from what I'm led to believe. He was training on Christmas Eve. The comments that he's made about he's not happy about being played as a sort of bit part player in the Premier League. I think that the end result of that, along with Skamaka's situation, will mean he gets the nod. But what say you, Duke? And you guys in the live chat, please get involved.
Definition of insanity, Rob.
Mm-hmm.
Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different outcome. As far as I'm concerned, and I didn't say it at the top of the show, this could be his last game, Rob.
Mm-hmm.
This very much could be his last game, right? In charge of the club for Moyes. Now, for a manager with so many years league experience, managing Premier League clubs, Everton, ourselves, took Sunderland down, but, they were already down before he got there as far as I'm concerned. Silly little stint in Spain. But for a man with significant experience, you should really realise when the writing's on the wall, when the Wolves are at the door. The Wolves have been at the door for some time now. Not me, up until probably 7 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago. Everyone here knows that I was a massive Moyes in. Was hoping he'd learn from his mistakes. He hasn't, Rob. He hasn't learned anything.
No.
And we're doing the same shit over and over again. Now, I know for a fact that some of the guys in the chat some of the guys across YouTube world, some of the guys in our chat. You know, we spent a lot of time talking about this over and over. The types of lineups, the different type of formational setup, different type of tactics that would benefit the players that we have, i.e., you know, Paqueta, Scamacca, the likes of Benny. You know, I've said about moving Benny into more central role. I've said about having a second striker to partner Scamacca, because I feel that that's how we're going to get best out of him. We've all had these discussions about what can be better as a lineup and in-game tactical management for us, right? Yeah, exactly, Kent. Moyes isn't getting the memo, Rob. You know, I went to the Leicester game and was just like, well, I sat behind you and was asking you the question, what am I watching? Like, it was desperately just, it was like watching a funeral bell go, wasn't it? You know what I mean? He just didn't learn. He just didn't understand. And we played from the back foot again. And if we go, oh God, that's too close. If we go back and we look at, you know, it just hurts. It hurts. You know, we've had a 6th and a 7th place finish. We've had European campaign, which ended in the semi-final last year. We're doing well in Europe again this year, but again, it's a watered down Europa League, if you will, until the next couple of matches. If he's not learning, for me, that formation, it's got to go. It ain't working for us. We're playing from the back foot. We can't seem to get out of our half quick enough to be able to hurt teams. Our counter-attack that worked so well for us last year and the year before seems to have gone out the window. There's no closing down. I mean, again, we'll do this in a video, you know, at some point with the stats and all the information, obviously, that I sent you as well. And why are we not learning? Why are we not figuring this out? Why is it just the same shit, different day? You know, same story, different characters. Why? You know, I don't get it, and it's really beginning to irritate me.
Because his argument would probably be that this is how I've played for the bulk of my management career, and for the bulk of my management career, it's worked. No, the problem is, Mr. Moyes, is it ain't working and hasn't worked since the turn of the year. 12 months where we've been ropey at best. We've had little matches, little sort of oases in the desert. We've had the away game against Lyon. We had the home game against Sevilla. We've had a few times where you've sort of looked and thought, oh, okay, here we go. There's something we can sort of build on, something we can get our teeth into. And then we seem to slip back into the old ways. I mean, you know, our set piece game has gone to shit. Counter-attacking needs to be done at pace. You know that, I know that. Yeah, it seems to me we win the ball and our transition from defence to attack, it's too pedestrian. It's too slow. It gives the opposition too much time for them to go, that's okay, we're going to get set, we're going to get back, organised, compact, break us down, come at us. And it's like you say, it's the same problems. It's rinse and repeat. We need to find a way. We need to do something different. Now, here's me, right? And you guys in the live chat, you know, tell me what you think. I think that the answer, I think we witnessed it at the World Cup, Duke, and possibly we didn't realise. And do you know what it was? 4-3-3. Really simple. And I'll tell you why. And I'll tell you why I come to that conclusion. Because that's the formation that England played. And Declan Rice played at the base of the midfield three. Okay? Also, it's the formation that Brazil played. And we put Paqueta was put as one of the two central midfielders. They had Casemiro as the holding player, and they had Neymar and Paquetá as the two central mids in a 4-3-3. Yeah.
Yep.
Also, and this is sort of like not so much applying for today, but longer term. Scamacca played in a 4-3-3 with Sassuolo. He had Raspadori and Berardi as the two sort of like guys either side of him. He's used to playing a 4-3-3. So there you've got your captain and best player that's used to playing this formation. You've got your 50-odd million pound Brazilian number 10, as they say. He isn't. But he's played in that formation, and you've got your 35 million pound goal machine that is used to that formation. Yet we're persisting with this 4-2-3-1 with a player in Thomas Souček who's been out of form for quite some time now. Bowen has been out of form for quite some time now. Now, I know some people would say, oh, yes, but he looked good in pre-season. Okay, well, hopefully he can transfer that to the Premier League season that's about to restart. But if he doesn't, then I'd be quite happy to kick him out on his ass and say to him, listen, you're just going to have to wait for your opportunity, matey. Yeah. You're going to have to get into the reserves and work hard and get. Yeah. And when you get your opportunity, you better fucking grab it with both hands.
Well, again, I'm going to give a little insight. I've just gone and had a quick search through some chats. God sent something. And again, you and I are going to do something on this because I think this is where we're severely going wrong since, I'd say since January, but at least since the start of the season. We only engage the attacking threat 5 yards from outside our box.
Yeah, it sounds about right.
Last year we stopped them. We stopped them about 20 yards outside our box. So we engaged probably 10 yards inside our 5 yards inside our half is where we engaged the opposition last season. This season, we're only engaging the opposition 5 yards outside of our penalty box. So 23 yards from goal is where we start to engage the opposition when they're attacking us, right? And you want to know something? We allow a team between 17 and 9, let's say on average, 18 passes inside our own half before we engage them 5 yards outside of our penalty area, right? That is very, very, very worrying.
Has to come from the manager. That.
Exactly.
Has to come from the manager.
You know, last season, we were engaging about 8 yards further up, 9 yards further up from what I'm reading here. About 10 yards, about 10. We were still giving them 13 passes before we engaged, right? It's not a huge difference, Rob. This is what I was trying to explain with my brother and Neil, the goalkeeping coach. I was trying to get my head around this. It's only 8 yards, give or take. It's about 4 meters. What's that? It's 12 foot, give or take. Yeah, so it's about, I suppose, about 8-9 yards steps in. You know, it doesn't seem like a huge deal, does it? In regards to distance,
fine margins though, do
right? Yeah, what I mean. But look at the difference that it made between our seasons. 7th place last season's finish and where we are currently. The fact that we allow them 5 or 6 more passes. I mean, we're defending quite clearly. We're defending too deep. We're not engaging high enough up the pitch, which is causing us massive problems. And teams with the quality, and even teams without the fucking quality, let's be honest, are managing to get through. And
let's be honest, Duke. Look at the last 2 games before the break, and I don't mean any disrespect to them, but we played Crystal Palace and Leicester City at home in the situation we were, and we couldn't capitalise on either match. We came away from those two matches. We could have had 6 points available, and we got nothing.
Nothing at all. And rightly so, though, Rob. Because we played piss poor. Now, as I've said prior in other videos, the manager has to take the bulk of the backlash from this. He has to. That's his job. But I'm also going to question Declan Rice's authority here with regards to, well, my argument is the captain is the manager on the pitch. I've always said this for years and years. I think I even go back on our video because we've been going nearly 2 years, Rob. No, a year. We're going a year?
No. It'll be 2 years.
Christ, I've
aged. February next year.
I've aged. I need to get a facelift. That's my Christmas present next year.
I think if you're going to get a facelift, I think you're going to need a fucking crane to do it.
Yeah, I'll go one of them. Can't say that.
Just did.
Yeah, I've been saying it. I've been saying it probably since we started this. That the manager on the pitch is your captain. Okay, now your captain should have the authority that for what he sees on the pitch in play to be able to make changes. Or at least go to the sidelines during an injury or or whatever and say, Gaffer, this ain't fucking working. We need to change something. He needs to be able to change things on the pitch as he sees it. If he thinks that, you know what, we're being absolutely mullered in the middle of the park here because the players are too wide, then bring them in. If you remember, I'll give you I can't think of the word. I'll give you an example. It's too early. I'll give you an example on this. All right.
Yep.
Italy, England, Euro Championship final.
Yes.
England dominated the first 15 minutes, 20 minutes of that game. Absolutely dominated it in the middle of the park. Right. Declan Rice, Calvin Phillips, absolutely dominated that game. The captain, I can't remember who the captain was, but if you watch back on highlights, he actually goes over to the touchline during an injury break. Goes over to the touchline, says something. All of a sudden, from that moment on, the two wider players of their midfield tucked in. Created practically a 5-man midfield, right? Or no, 4-man midfield. All of a sudden, Declan Rice and Calvin Phillips were being put under more pressure when they received the ball. Didn't have time to turn out and make their plays like they did for the first 20 minutes because basically they had one man in the middle of the pitch and he couldn't deal with the fact that Declan Rice and Calvin Phillips were spraying passes everywhere. All of a sudden, the captain saw, hang on a minute, make a change, goes over, speaks to his manager. Manager then makes the change on the pitch because of the recommendation by the captain. All of a sudden, Declan Rice and Calvin Phillips are being removed from the game as such because they can't, they haven't got that outlet. They haven't got the time on the ball anymore. Southgate's response to that with 20 minutes to go was to take off the best player that England had on the pitch at that moment in time. You're biased because he's Declan Rice.
Here's the thing. I mean, you're saying about Declan Rice and look, Declan Rice has a responsibility. I'm not arguing that point. What I will say is that it does require, and you've just said it there, that the captain goes to the manager and says, listen, Gaffer, this isn't working. We're getting overrun. We got a problem here, blah, blah, blah. It's incumbent at that point upon the manager to recognize that the captain has a point and do something about it. If the manager is too stubborn, doesn't recognize, doesn't agree, whatever, and you could have the captain turning around to the manager and saying, we need to make a change. We need this player off because they're just not bringing anything to the party. We need this player to come on from the bench because their skill set is better suited to combat what the opposition are doing. Well, if you've got a manager that blatantly sits there and goes, don't agree, carry on, then it's not going to happen. As you were saying it though, and this is a different sport. this is a different sport I'm going to dive into, but rugby union, England's World Cup team that won in 2003, captained by Martin Johnson.
Yep.
Now, I've heard multiple stories about Sir Clive Woodward would give like this team talk before the match. You know, this, you do this, you do that, da 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 da. I love rugby union, but I don't know enough about the tactics side of things. I'm not that clued up with it.
Yeah.
The tactical side of rugby union, you know, I don't, you know, I struggle with the offside law in rugby union. I'm like, what the fuck? I don't know. Anyway, but Sir Clive Woodward would sort of like go, bum, 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 bum. He'd then piss off. And a lot of the time, if Martin Johnson was sitting there going, nah, Clive Woodward would piss off, and Martin would stand up and go, forget that, lads. This is what we're going to do. Bish, bash, bosh. Yeah. And they'd go out, and that would basically be what would happen. A lot of the time that Martin Johnson was actually the guy that was in charge, but I don't think that Declan Rice is of that. I don't think Declan Rice has got that in him. I think to do that, you need to be a really strong personality. You need to be quite domineering. Do you know what I mean? And with the best of will to Declan Rice, I just don't see that that's him. Not a criticism. It's an observation.
Let me ask you this. Obviously, listen, we all make very good managers from our seat. From our seats in the stadium, we all make very, very good managers, right? I can see this, I can see that.
Yep.
You reckon, especially where we sit, and I say we sit because I spend near enough all my time at games now up and around where you are, because I prefer it up in the gods, and I do.
Up with the crows.
I actually prefer it up there, and you know why I prefer it up there? You can see.
Because you're near me?
Game, well, yeah. You can see the game unfold.
Yes.
You can see the entire pitch. You can see positional sense, right? I think I discussed this with you during the Leicester game about the fact that there were several times that Soufal was being caught out of position because he was too far inside. He was too far in the middle of the pitch because of the way that Leicester were playing. They were dragging us over. And all of a sudden you were looking at the centre-back being left back, and then Soufal having to push in, which then left, obviously, our right side wide open.
Big gap.
Right? And we could see that from where we were sat because we were up, like you say, in the crow's nest, up in the gods, overlooking the pitch. Now, do you think it would be beneficial for a manager or even a tactical analysis to be able to sit up there, headset in, to be able to relay information down to these guys? Because you obviously see, I can't remember who it was as a manager.
Oh, George Graham did it. George Graham did it about 30 years ago. He'd sit in the first half. I remember him at Highbury. He would be up in the director's box for the first half. And I remember sort of like seeing film footage of him on a handheld telephone down to Stuart Houston or whoever was on the bench, Pat Rice, whatever, relaying sort of instructions, you know, on the basis of how that first 45 minutes would unfold. Sam Allardyce did it at Bolton, if you remember. He'd be up in the gods. He'd have a microphone and he'd be, you know, and I think, and
it was Sammy Lee.
That is a great idea, because I do think that when you're down at ground level, you have a certain perspective on how the game's going that may not actually be beneficial. What you think it is.
Yeah, exactly.
And someone, listen, I mean, you're sort of throwing that out, and I think it's a great point, but it may well be that there is someone unbeknownst to us that's up in the director's box.
Maybe
relate. But I'll tell you what, if it is, I don't really think it's worked this season.
But again, it might well be that you've already said it. You know, I've said about Deckers being the manager on the pitch, and he's not strong enough, or Moyes is just going la 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 la, like doesn't want to listen.
Yeah,
it may well be that you've got someone up there with Rusty B up in the box, looking down, overlooking, and being that person. Like I say, being being the eye in the
maybe
sky.
Mark Noble's got to have that role. I don't know, because obviously he's got to be a sporting director, isn't he?
Yeah.
You'd imagine that when the game's going on, he's going to be in the director's box with Sullivan, Gold, Brady, and all
I hope
that
not,
lot.
poor bastard. No one
Well, no,
deserves it.
I'd imagine that's exactly. He's not going to be on the bench, is he? You don't have a sporting director on the bench.
No,
He
I
shouldn't
kind
be
of hope
part
he
of the coaching staff, but he'll be up in the box. And I would imagine that surely, even maybe not necessarily at half time, but maybe after the game, surely there will be a debrief between sporting director and team manager, where the sporting director will be, listen, that game the other day, this was what was going on. I could see it from where I was sat.
Yeah.
I think you need to keep an eye on that. Now, if David Moyes at that point, bearing in mind the stature that Mark Noble has within the history of the club, and obviously their interpersonal relationship, if David Moyes even then is doing exactly what you just said, fingers in ear rolls, la la la, can't hear you, then quite frankly, what he, what you reap is what you sow, is the saying.
I mean, as I say, you and me up in the gods when we've sat there, and you and me have had discussions. I mean, the Leicester game was a prime example of players' positional sense that they're not where they need to be. I mean, the amount of times that the left winger for Leicester, I can't think of the young lad's name, they had so much space over there, Rob, because we were being dragged.
Was that Harvey Barnes?
It may well have been, and they're playing that crossfield ball, and all of a sudden we're completely exposed. We can see that from where we are, and as I say, we all make good managers because we sit there and we go, meh, 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 and that's what we do here. Let's not mess around. That's what we're here for when we do these videos.
Yeah.
I just look at it and I go, well, listen, if you ain't listening, and a couple of have said Brentford games, I think this could be his last game. And if we get absolutely turned over this evening, I wouldn't be surprised. It might be the Brentford game because I think Brentford's game is still this year, isn't it? It's before the turn.
Yeah, it's the next game. I mean, I don't think that the only circumstance I can see us that where David Moyes is not the manager for the Brentford game, the only way is if we get absolutely annihilated, embarrassed, humble, 5-0, something like that. And off of the back of that, there's stories coming out into the papers of, this player's not happy, that player's not happy, this player's questioning the manager. I think if that were to happen, there's every possibility that there may be some action coming from above. But I think that if we go, we'll get into the score predictions down the track, but if the score line goes the way that I think it does, or I think it will, I don't think that there'll be any movement in that sense before the Brentford game. I really don't.
I mean, if he gets the Brentford game and we lose that, then he's definitely gone. And then as Ken says there, 5 days, you've then got...
But there's been 6 weeks to bring in a new gaffer.
Well, yeah, but then you've also got... I mean, it would have been ideal to have got rid of it without being horrible, but actually using a bit of brain here. If we'd got rid of him at the end of the Leicester game, 6 weeks to bring a manager in.
Yeah.
He knows the players that have gone to the World Cup, the likes of Paqueta and Declan Rice. Listen, they're who you build a team around, isn't it? Yeah, that's what you do as a new manager. You figure out what you need to get rid of. I'm going to punch him straight in the neck. I've just seen that come up. I'm going to throw something at him. He wants to stay away from my pub for a couple of days. I'm going to throw a glass at him. I love you, Cyber. I'm only joking. Idea would have been bringing a new manager 5 weeks ago. You have the training of the players. Oh God, I'm seriously, I'm going to bar him. And then what you do is you've got a transfer window coming up where you say to the board, okay, here's my issues. This is what we have to do. Okay, there is no, oh, can I please, sir, can I have some more? No. We need we need a manager with a backbone that's going to go in and say, I need. And then we go out and we figure out, okay, there's some sort of wiggle room but we need we need to replace this. If we can sell, we get more money, great, but this is what I need. And then he's got 6 weeks, as you said, to figure out what that is. And then once we get to here, he's then got 4 weeks of a transfer window for loans and possible, getting ready to bring in, to try and figure out around this new manager's kind of way of thinking. I mean, Cyber said Benitez. He's also said ARSWHU. He's barred now.
Two managers that have done really well in the Premier League in recent times.
I mean, listen, I don't think we can get anywhere near these two managers, but Poch and Tuchel. Now, we're not an elite club. But saying that, we've already seen what happens when we bring in a manager who's managed an elite club in Pellegrini. He managed City on the upturn, won the Premier Leagues with them. It didn't go well, because he didn't have the same sort of players that he had at his disposal. Well, he had one. He had Zabaleta. That went well. For me, I'd love Poch or Tuch. Thomas Frank has signed the new contract at Brentford, so that's not happening. I would have loved him. I would have loved him to bring the whole setup of Brentford to the club, i.e., scrap the developmental under-21 side, the Premier League 2, and go out on loan. Piss off. Go learn your trade. I think there's a horrible setup within this club. It starts from the top. It does start from the owners. This kind of rancid kind of atmosphere and stuff that does come from them. But hey ho, listen, Arsenal squad.
I was just about to say we probably should also get onto the what I suspect will be the Arsenal 11. So again, and now bear in mind, ladies and gentlemen, I am not an Arsenal fan, and I don't have. I haven't really looked into who's injured, this, that, and the other too deeply. But what I will say that I know, the last time I checked, is that Gabriel Jesus is out for around about 3 months for a knee injury that he picked up in the World Cup against Cameroon for Brazil. Reece Nelson has got a damaged hamstring, which he got in the friendly defeat against Juventus. William Saliba obviously got to the World Cup final with France, although I don't think he played. So I don't really see there's any reason why he shouldn't. But I suppose it depends upon him, because obviously it didn't end terribly well for France.
Kent says he's out, mate.
Yeah?
Yeah, Kent's just said in the chat there that he's out. So I don't know.
Well, we'll see. As I say, I mean, I put this together a couple of days ago, to be honest with you. But,
I get that.
I was sort of making an educated guess, and it could well be wrong. We'll see at 7 this evening. Emil Smith-Rowe, he's not expected to return. He had groin surgery. And Alexander Zinchenko, who we were quite heavily linked with, but he's been injured quite a bit since he's gone there. He's got a calf injury. So, again, if that resembles in the main the Arsenal 11, I've got to be honest, I look at it and go, Martinelli, good player. Odegaard, very good player. Saka, Jesus Christ. I think he was arguably England's, well, put it this way, he was one of England's best players at the World Cup. That's a formidable outfit. And this is a team that's top of the Premier League right now. At home, against a team that probably are quite low on confidence. And I look at that and go, but having said that, I mean, I know you like Nketiah. I still think the jury's out on him. I'm not too sure, but he's got an opportunity. He's got 3 months potentially where he could go out there and make it really difficult for Arteta. That when Jesus comes back, if he sort of like grabbed his opportunity, he might sort of like put a little bit of pressure on Jesus. But
what's the average age of that side, Rob? Seriously.
Jesus Christ, no idea.
I mean, Partey and Xhaka have got to be the oldest. The oldest two in that.
Yeah, I'd say Xhaka's going to be the eldest. Hang on a minute. Granit Xhaka is
32, maybe.
He is 30. I would imagine that probably makes him the oldest there.
Partey can't be far off of that.
Thomas Partey is 29.
Yeah, there you go. See, and the rest of those, in the grand scheme of things, I know they're not. So please don't come at me. But they're teenagers. You know, in terms of a playing career, the kids. You know, Tierney came down from Celtic, if I remember right. Gabriel, you got Saliba, Ben White. Actually, he's probably in his late 20s. Is he, Ben White? I mean, they're young.
He's 25.
Mid-20s. They're a young side, Rob. Right? They're a young side. Now, that being said, if you can bully a little bit on these youngsters and let them know you're there, all right, you've got the likes of Xhaka and Partey that are going to play kind of the enforcer roles, if you will, for those youngsters, because that's what I'd do if I was Arteta. You've got these youngsters. You've got these youngsters that are very, very talented. Let's not lie. Odegaard, fantastic player, absolutely amazing. Saka, Martinelli. I know you're not a big fan of Nketiah, but these are.
I think the jury's still out on the kid. I mean, he's looked okay. He's not. He's not like Jermaine Defoe.
No. I like him, but then none of them are at the minute, mate. And there isn't a 16-year-old Rooney sitting around at the minute. I look at those. I look at those front four, if you will, and I'd have the likes of Partey and Xhaka playing the enforcer role, i.e., you kick one of the kids, we're going to kick you twice as hard. That'd be if I was in Arteta's shoes. That's how I'd play. If I was Moyes right now, I'd be saying to Deck and either Downs or Souček, I'd be saying to the likes of Soufal and get in close and give them a fucking dig, right? At the end of the day...
Can you do that these days, though, with VAR?
Yeah, you can. I don't care. You can get in there and you... Not being funny, there was a referee in the World Cup. I think it was Tunisia... Was it Tunisia or Australia? I think. Right. And he let about 20 go, Rob, that I was there going, well, that's a booking, and that's a free kick, and that's a booking.
Could we have that referee today, please?
There could have been 6 red cards in that game, all for Tunisia players. It was painful to watch. I'm sure it was Tunisia or Australia. They were absolutely rattling them. But they were winning the ball. They were winning the ball, but there was some heftiness coming after it. And I'm going, well, that's just old school. That's just what we used. That's how I used to play 20 years ago. Bang, get up. I've won the ball. You get up off the floor now. That's how we used to play. That's what I do today. I'd make sure I won the ball, but you clean that player out to make him have second thoughts. So I really don't want to run at you again. I really don't. I'll have the ball. I'm not interested in that. That's what I'd be doing. That's what I'd tell the back six, if you will, to do. Get stuck in on them kids. And then if Partey and Xhaka want to come in and mix it up, well, give them one and all.
Yeah.
But that's we've got to get the crowd. What we need to do is we need to throw them tackles in. We need to make the fans go, oh, and get behind us as a team. That's what we've got to do, because at the minute there is none of that.
Yeah. Well, that is our historical record against our London rivals. And as Duke has his reaction to that, well, we've lost just slightly over twice as many games as we've won in the history of that particular fixture. So you look at that and you go, yeah, that's not so good. We look at our last
were like the you got to bear in mind a lot of those were probably back like when it was the likes of that Arsenal squad. You know what I mean? There was going to be a few defeats when it was that Arsenal squad. And then you go and absolutely fucking embarrass me by bringing up 8 defeats in quite quick succession.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, you know, our last 10 fixtures, there's an 80% loss rate. That's, you know, David Moyes wasn't responsible for all of them, but we all know his record as an away team against top 6 teams. It's even at Manchester United, he never managed to get over the line against one of his fellow top 6 teams in an away fixture. But that looks pretty poor, it has to be said. You know, that our best result came on the 12th of January 2019, which now seems like, you know, centuries ago. Yeah. And that is more recent Arsenal's Premier League form is, as you can see there, it's pretty much all wins except for one draw fired in there. You look at in all competitions though, there are 2 defeats that are chucked in, and that is that something that we can cling on to, perhaps?
Not when we've got 4 defeats in our last 6 in the Premier League,
No.
and 3 on the bounce, and it just isn't. It isn't good enough for me, Rob. As far as I'm concerned, it's just not. It's not what we should be doing. It's not what we should be. Like, you know what I mean? For the last 2 seasons, there should not be 3 red L's in the Premier League back to back to back. There really shouldn't. No. So that's got. I don't see it with. Don't want to be that person. I don't see it changing today, but it does need to change today. You know what I mean? There needs to be something there to stop that from being 4, but I just don't see it.
Right. Okay. So we will, before we get on to the score predictions, I'm going to give our socials a bit of a plug. And as it says there about giving it a like, we currently have 22 of you watching and we've only got the 13 likes. So if the ones of you that haven't dropped a like on the stream, could you please do so? Because it really does help the channel out tremendously. This is the bit we're going to get a little bit more audience participation, I hope. Score predictions. Well, I'll let you go first, Duke.
I've had some deliberation over this, Rob, for the last week. I really have. I've had. So yeah, there's part of me. Oh God, there's 2 results that come to mind. Probably not, Cyber. 3 results, Rob. 2 results that come to mind. 2 results that come to mind. A 1-0 West Ham win and a 3-0 Arsenal victory.
Ooh. Wow.
It's one of the 2. We either go out and we still, and Fabianski turns into prime Robert Green.
Like it.
And Antonio bullies the shit out of their back line and scores a single goal, and we go on to win 1-0. But I'm edging more towards the 3-1. And it just been an absolute disaster first half, and 2 or 3-0 down first half.
And to you, Mandy.
2 or 3-0 first half, and then they don't give 2 shits in the second, and we come out, we get a goal, that you know, kind of a mistake at the back, and we latch onto it and we go and score. So yeah, it's the one of the 2. I mean, I'm thinking we can get the win with an absolute belter from Fab, but
if we was in charge, Mandy, we would aim for a win, but I'm not quite sure that the current incumbent is going to do that entirely. But there you go.
I mean, listen, there's a distinct possibility that, looking at your team sheet from earlier, someone mentioned going 5 at the back. I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised if he goes. But the problem is, when we play 3 at the back, okay, when we go 3 at the back, it's not 3 at 5. The back. It's not. It's 5. Whether we're in position or whether we're at possession, or we're out of possession, it's still a back 5. Because the 2 full-backs don't get high enough up the pitch. You know, they when we're in position, they should be halfway line or further forward. When we're out of position, they should be kind of level with Declan Rice and Thomas Soucek, creating a bank of 4 there. So kind of a 3-4-2-1. But they don't. They just sit so fucking deep that we've got no out. We've got no way out. Rob saw me play football. Thank you very much.
I have.
a 3-4-3 still doesn't make any difference to me, because the two there that would be wide beside, Rice and Souček or Rice and Paqueta, whoever you're going to put in there, they're not going to get forward. So you're still going 5. You're actually going a 5-2-3 and not being able to do anything about it. I'd actually love to see us in the same way that I laid out an England squad to the guys downstairs in the pub, an England lineup against
France.
No, who did we have in the 16?
Senegal.
Yeah, Senegal. I turned around and said I'd actually love to see us go the 4 at the back, 4 at the back, Declan Rice, 2, 3. And in the England setup, that was Declan Rice, Foden, and Grealish, and then Rashford, Greenwood, Saka, and Kane.
You did it again.
Fuck me, Rashford, not the sex offender, the other one allegedly. Yeah, that's. I'd actually like to see us do the same sort of thing. I'd actually like to go back for Declan Rice, Paqueta, Benrahma, and then Bowen, Cornet, and Scamacca as like a very high front 5, and then a deep 5, kind of in a way that they play in Italy, Rob. That your attackers attack.
Not going to happen, though, is it?
No, it's not. But your attackers attack and your defenders defend. That's why we had problems with Anderson when he came over. Prime example being his debut against Liverpool. Didn't come back and defend on that left-hand side, which left, obviously, Cresswell very well exposed. But for me, that's the way I'd like. So a 4-1-2-3 or a 4-1-3-2 out of position.
4-3-3. Essentially a 4-3-3, isn't it?
Yeah, but I'd like to see, the front 5 getting closer together and being able to play the sort of ways that we come up against, the way we allow opponents to come within like 5 yards of our box before we try to engage.
That's where I think, and look at wind back to the first game of the season, the Man City game. And I said it then that what I saw was a team that was just lolling around, letting them advance. And everybody said, oh, it's Man City, you're being too harsh. Oh, it's hot, you're being too harsh. And I'm sitting there going, no, what I watched wasn't, the same. It was virtually the same 22 players that started, the same fixture 2 months earlier, Mark Noble's last fixture. It was probably about a similar sort of temperature then, similar players. And when I looked at the stats latterly, it was like, well, we had more possession in the game that we lost 2-0, but it was the intensity that was missing. It wasn't anything about possession. Possession without penetration is completely pointless.
We're not closing up high enough up the pitch.
In that 2-2 draw, when we had less possession, which everybody sort of like looks at and goes, oh, we had more possession. It's like, it's a bogus statistic. You could have the ball for 80% of the match. If you're just strolling around with it and stroking it around and it's a bogus statistic. You had 80% of the possession, but you had 2 shots. Well done. If you had 80% of the possession and you had 20 shots, well, you've done something with the ball.
Yeah, even if you lose 1-0, but
we was too static. We was too in that City game, and this has carried on all season. I saw that in the first game, and it's transitioned through. What we need to see is a massive change in attitude, a massive change in emphasis. We need to see that front. We need to be defending from the front, but we need to be out. We need to be, as soon as they've got the ball on outside their 18-yard box or thereabouts, bang, we're on them. Trying to win possession as high up the pitch as possible. And then when we win possession, boom, off we go. Not sort of like this slow pedestrian sort of going up in stages, cranking it up, because you're just allowing them a chance to get back and get set. Yeah. Simple as that.
We saw it with Scamacca, Rob, when he tries to press. This high press, as they call it. Fuck off. Closing down. Always has been. He does it on his own. And then when the ball's played out to a left or a right back, he's like, where's me help? Where's me support? And that's why I think if you go with the three up top, I know you say the 4-3-3 or how I put it, the 4-1-2-3, but there being a bit of a gap between Rice and the other two. Is what you're doing is you're putting so much pressing in. You know what happens when you put the pressure on with 4 or 5 players against 4 or 5 players, i.e. one-on-one, don't give them a pass out. You know what they got to do with it then? It does one of two things. It goes back to the goalkeeper and it gets tossed forward for one of our 5 defensive players to pick the ball up, win the first ball, win the second ball, get it down, start again. Or it goes out of play because they're harried and they make a mistake. Right? There's a few teams that are very good at it in the Premier League, and we're playing one of them today with the high press. They will put you under pressure. They will make you make mistakes. We need to be the team doing that. We have a relatively young team, Rob. They should be fitter than a butcher's dog. They should be able to run and cover every blade of grass on that pitch because they are young and fit.
Yep.
Right? To get them to fucking do that. Stop letting them go, okay, we're going to sit here and wait for 5 minutes until they come close enough to me that I can do something about. Don't do that. Don't do that. Get out there. Get into them. Should be a motivational speaker.
We haven't got a manager, though, that I see is going to transfer that attitude to the players. I really don't. And listen, you can sit there and say 8 o'clock, yeah. I mean, you can sit there and say David Moyes statistically is our best manager. Yes. Okay. Everybody points to that statistic and it's like, fine. But listen, a Premier League manager really, as far as I'm concerned, is only as good as your last 6 to 8 matches.
Yep.
If your last 6 to 8 matches are all defeats, it doesn't matter what you did before. The Premier League is an unforgiving beast. You know, there's no patience in football, rightly or wrongly. And we're part of that phenomenon. I'm not going to shy away from that. Social media, YouTube channels, and all the rest of it. We're part of that particular narrative. But I just think it doesn't matter what he did last season, the season before. It doesn't matter. That's gone.
Yeah.
You know, it's the old, I mean, the New Zealand All Blacks are one of the most successful sporting teams ever, right? Over 100 years of history where they have basically been one of the best teams in rugby union, and they're a nation that has about 4.5 million inhabitants. It really shouldn't happen. And yet there they are, you know, year after year. And one of their mantras, celebrate success, but park it quickly.
Yep.
Yeah. Remember your losses more than your wins.
Yep.
That's one of their mantras. So, okay, yeah, we got 7th last season. We got to a European semi-final. We got 6th the season before. Great. But right now, that don't count for anything.
No. And that's the problem, Rob. That's the problem. We sit and, you know, listen, it doesn't matter what we've done before. It doesn't matter. And even by that I can say it doesn't matter what we did against Leicester. It doesn't matter what we did against Palace. It doesn't matter what we did against Blackburn. What matters now is what we do today. What matters is what we do on the 28th. What matters is what we do against on the 7th, I think, is the Cup, isn't it? And then we've got Leeds. Right? Yep. What matters is these next 4 games. They're essential. And they have to be.
Would you write off the Cup game? If and I know they're not mutually exclusive, but just for a little bit of fun, in a very perverse sense of the word, if by sacking off the Cup game against Brentford, if we put out a team that basically, as soon as you looked at it, you went, well, he's given up on that and he's concentrating on the Leeds fixture. And let's just suppose that let's say we get a half decent, let's say we get a draw against Brentford in the league game, and we're looking at Leeds and going, that we need to win. But then we put out a team against Brentford in the Cup that basically says he's not really that bothered. How would that sit with you?
No.
Doubt it, Mandy.
No, I'll tell you why. You know what winning does, Rob? Brings confidence.
It's a
breeds
habit.
confidence and breeds breeds that winning mentality.
So's losing. Losing's also a habit.
But that's the problem. So if you say, okay, I'm going to throw that away, it's just encouraging that behaviour. If you turn around and said to me, you can pick up 3 wins out of your next 4, what are you picking? I'd actually choose to lose today, beat Brentford, beat Leeds, and beat Brentford in the cup.
That is a pretty good analogy, Hughesy. I like that. I like that.
You know, if you said to me you could win 3 of 4, what are you picking? I would pick to lose today and then win the next 3 on the bounce, because then that breeds another a winning. You start a winning run, then, don't you? Whereas if you go, okay, win. Whoa, bloody hell! Just relaxing back in the chair, it's fine. Fuck me, the bolt went. That was fun. If you win today, you win Brentford, lose, you're throwing another loss in there. I'd actually rather the 3 wins. I'd actually like a good cup run to breed the winning confidence. Listen, we don't have that choice. What's going to happen is what's going to happen. We need, thanks. We need.
Remember, though, you know where you find sympathy, Duke? It's in the dictionary, and it's roughly halfway between shit and syphilis. 34 of you watching, by the way. Just get this in real quick. 34 of you watching. 18 likes. Do us a favour. Help us out. Put a couple of likes on the stream. Cheers.
Harsh.
He'll be the same as probably half the population of the UK. Happy. He'll probably on the 1st of Jan. New year, new me, and he'll be down to the gym. You go down to the gym on the 1st of January. It's fucking packed, and it will probably stay like that for about the first week of the year. And then fast forward a month, and it's like, well, this is nice and quiet.
Behind this lovely green screen here, I've got an exercise bike, Rob. I bought an exercise bike. It's behind this lovely green screen. As you can see, the green here on my hands. It's there. I'm touching it. I'm going to be on that. I'm doing dry January, so I'm getting it all in now.
But they do veganuary as well, or have I imagined that? So are you going to do dry veganuary as well?
I'm going vegan free.
Well, you're not going to allow any vegans in your pub.
Just like I've done in my life up until now, I'm going to go vegan free. I'm doing really well.
Is there such a thing? I mean, do they make? I don't know. Do they sort of like have? Is there such a thing as a vegan beer?
Yeah, there is.
Seriously?
Yeah. There's gluten-free beer. There's gluten-free beer. There's vegan beer. Yeah,
I didn't realise they used animal products to make beer in the first place.
Oh yeah, no, they can.
Okay,
it's scary.
Oh Jesus, we got one in the. There's always one.
If you want happy, one show I might during January. I might do live on my bike.
Why?
Oh, fuck, why not? Be uncomfortable. I have to get myself a pair of padded shorts because it's quite uncomfortable on my tush.
Could you imagine him in lycra?
You'd love to see that. Don't pretend you wouldn't.
No.
That's anyway. That's on the Forged for Mine OnlyFans account.
It's the first I've heard of it. Any final things you want to say before we bugger off?
Yeah. Listen, we haven't been about a lot because of the World Cup. And, we had some time to ourselves as such. There is a lot that goes in, and other channels were still around, West Ham Network, although they did miss day 18 off of their advent calendar.
They did. I noticed that. I wasn't very happy.
Gio and Gonzo continued to do, their bits and pieces, of which I'm very grateful because it actually gave me some stuff to watch as well. But we did take some time out for ourselves and for our family. I hope all of you guys out there watching this now, watching it before, have had a good Christmas. Happy Christmas from our families that way to yours. It's a rough time of the year, Rob, as you very well know. Again, I come back to what we've said many times before. if any of you out there do need
my permission,
especially at this time of year, it's a great time of year. It's also a rough time of year for a lot of people. I spoke to a couple of gentlemen yesterday that don't have any immediate family. They came into the pub and spent their Christmas Day with me in the pub, and we had a good chat. Same goes to you guys. As I said to them, if you ever need anything, do reach out. It's not the easiest of times, especially when you're alone or you don't have a lot going on. So please reach out, give us a shout, have a conversation with me and Rob. We're always there to be able to have those conversations, whether they're tough or not. Reach out and we can have a chat.
Good. Right. Okay. Before we knock it on the head, in that particular spirit, if you will, of helping out in the community, allow me to send this message to you, good people. Forge from Iron is proud to support Iron Supporting Food Banks. They are a group of West Ham United fans and friends inspired by the work of other football fan food banks around the country. They collect food and cash donations from Newham Food Bank in Beckton, who supply 7 distribution centres in the borough, 7 days a week, and hand out several hundred 3-day emergency food packs every month to families in need. They are also working with other groups to improve conditions for vulnerable adults and children in the Newham community. They are supported in their efforts by West Ham United Football Club, the WHU Foundation, LS185, London Legacy Development Corporation, Newham Council, the Met Police, Spire London East Hospital, Expedient Security, and a large number of West Ham and football fans. You can help by making a donation to their Just Giving page. You will find the link to this in the description section of the video details in this stream. Thank you for your support. Come on, you Irons. Well, that's us done. 24 of you watching. Don't forget, those of you that haven't done so, to put a like on the stream. And if you haven't already done so, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon. It really would help us out tremendously. Have yourself a great Boxing Day. Hope you had a great Christmas Day. And we will reconvene tomorrow, I guess, Duke.
I will guess so. What's tomorrow? Tuesday?
Yep.
Have to be the evening, Robert, due to me being obviously with the work, as usual. So, yeah.
What sort of time?
8? Half 8?
Yeah. Yep, that should be doable. That should be doable. Not a problem. So
hopefully
please feel free to join us. Yeah, nice. You're going to have your exercise bike just so that people know you're not bullshitting them.
I'll put a picture on the YouTube channel, on the Twitter stream. I'll show you I've got a bike and all the rest of it. Going to lose some of this bulk that I've got going on since I've been drinking far too much.
Fair enough. Right.
No, you're not banned, Cyber, you knob.
What's this? Banned from what?
From the pub. Because he mentioned other managers.
You actually take any notice of what he says?
But you are more than welcome to come to the pub. If you want to come on,
don't forget, I still give him stick because this is the guy that turned around and said that he was going to start supporting Spurs.
Oh yeah, him.
Until Moyes was gone, and I'm like, no, sorry,
yeah, he's a nut job. He's our Cyber, but he's our nut job.
Yeah, there you go. Well, there you go. Right, okay, Duke. What are we?
Significantly smaller than we once were.
Yeah, I don't think we can turn around and say. Well, I'll tell you what. Actually, my T-shirt. Hang on. Will I get big for this? There you go. We are still massive because the T-shirt says so.
I can see your studio through your body. Are you like the Invisible Man or something?
Yeah. West Ham are massive, so because my T-shirt says so. Anyway, come on, you Irons. Enjoy your Boxing Day, and we'll see you 8 o'clock thereabouts tomorrow.